Coates with us. He'll have the call tonight on the Flyers Radio Network, 97.3 ESPN, along with Tim Saunders. Coverage starts at 7 o'clock, Coatesy. You know, we've been talking a lot about this series the last couple of days leading up, but one of the things that I'm learning throughout the course of talking to different people is that this Washington team, which is obvious, is more than just Ovechkin, and you cannot allow their secondary players to get going. But I want to ask you, who has the better secondary bunch, Philadelphia with Simmons and Voracek and Shen, or Washington with their secondary guys?
Well, on paper, you'd have to say the Washington Capitals are a lot deeper than the Philadelphia Flyers. They've got Burakovsky, Kuznetsov, Justin Williams. They've got a 20-goal scorer in the third line, and Jason Chimera. Johansson is a 17-goal scorer. They've moved Mike Richards up there. He's not scoring, but they have a lot of secondary scoring. So you've got Baxter, who's an outstanding center at the top end with Ovechkin and TJ Oshie on the wing. But they get into their third line, they're awfully good there too. So I'd say I got to give the tip of the hat there to the Washington Capitals. But in saying that, I think that the Flyers are solid as a team. If they play the way they did down the run or down at the end of this season, and they get the goaltending is the key to this whole thing. The goalie's going to have to be your best player to beat the Washington Capitals. So in saying that, this team has played as a team to get here. They use that tool as a group to make the playoffs, and that's what they got to do to beat the Caps. So when you talk about the secondary scoring, oh yeah, I think the Caps, they're very flush through their lineup. But still, it's a team game, and I think they can be had.
Steve Coates with us. Coatesy, you talked about Kuznetsov, and we had Chuck Gormley on earlier, and one of the things he praised was the vision for that Russian player and his passing ability. But you and I and Mike Gill have talked about Nick Cousins and his ability to pass the puck. Is he a guy that could step up and be a key part of this series?
Well, you'd like to think so. I mean, I think that he's enthused about being here. I've said that he's got a great puck handling ability. But you can't make that comparison between Cousins and Kuznetsov. I mean, Kuznetsov is the number one scorer for the Washington Capitals right now. He leads the team, won that scoring title this year for the Caps. Nick Cousins is a guy that is still learning, got an opportunity to come up here due to injury, really took advantage of it. And I think that line, it's going to be an interesting line when you think you got Gagner and Reed on the wings. That's kind of a mighty might line. That's not the biggest line in the world, but I think they'll play well together. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's just another plus, Pete. If you get a guy like Nick Cousins to contribute more than he already has, then that goes back to what we've talked about, where everybody's involved to win a hockey game.
As we sit here, Coatesy, and look at this series, a lot of people think about the Caps' previous playoff failures, but to me, the difference in them this season is not the fact that they put the puck in the net, but that they took care of business in their own zone and played much better defensively. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I think what you've got to is look at the whole concept down here. They changed the culture here. Brian McClellan came in as a new general manager. He brought in Brooks Orpik and Niskanen from Pittsburgh. Everybody criticized him for that. That's been a bonus for them. He picks up TJ Oshie and Justin Williams, two veterans. That made this hockey club better. And then he brought in Barry Trotz as the head coach, and everything's changed here. And as a result, the culture's changed, and you can see the result in the way that they play the game of hockey. And that is why they're at what they're at, because of that difference in the people and the way that they're treated. And for a guy like Trotz to come in here and take Ovechkin, who was a one-dimensional player, he was a minus player scoring all those goals all the time. Now he's a plus player. That tells you that he can coach. And if he can coach an Ovechkin, he can coach anybody.
Steve Coates is with us. He'll have the call tonight on 97.3 ESPN, Flyers and Capitals. Who's your X-Factor guy for the Flyers? I mentioned Voracek for me because it seems like we haven't seen the Voracek that we saw last year. I don't know if that's because of that injury. Is he fully ready to go? But could he be an X-Factor type of guy? And if not him, who is a guy that you think could be an X-Factor guy?
I think Voracek has to be the X-Factor guy. For that line with Giroux and Simmons on the wing, for them to get better, Voracek has to be back to himself. And right now when you're watching Voracek skate, now I'm not talking about right today, but up until this week where we're playing in the playoffs, his skating has been off. You can just tell when he's off. When he doesn't get up on his skates and he's up, and he's not moving the way he can, if he gets back to where he should be, then he makes Giroux and he makes Simmons that much better. And so then they'll produce more. So, yeah, I would agree. That would have been the guy I would have said is Jake Voracek for sure.
Now, he said Jake Voracek, just so I could go with a different name, I went with Sean Couturier. How would you describe what Sean Couturier's job is in this series?
Well, everybody always talks about Sean Couturier defensively. You know, that line's going to be out against Ovechkin. That line's going to be out against Backstrom. I don't think you're going to see that happen down here because Dave Haxtell doesn't want to bother with it. Dave Haxtell likes to keep the rhythm of his bench going. So he doesn't want to have to go to the problem of seeing Couturier spying on Ovechkin every time they go over the boards. He's going to go. That just doesn't work. So, and you're not going to get the last change down here anyway, so why fight it? I think Couturier, there's another guy that if he provides some of the scoring that he's shown of late, then it's another plus. That's another big reason why this club's here, because Sean Couturier is starting to score. All the time that we all knew that he was a great defensive center, but they needed him to score. That's why he was drafted. He was a big scorer in junior. So having to play with Raffle and Shen right now, they've got to produce. That's the bottom line.
Coachy, no injuries for either team. They both come in with a clean bill of health here, which I really like. You know, you look at teams like Tampa Bay, Stamkos out for the whole tournament. Pittsburgh going with their third goalie last night. You look at a lot of these teams, they've been beaten up down the stretch. Both Philadelphia and Washington healthy and ready to go, which I think makes for entertaining series here. But one guy who's never been is Sam Gagner, and he's a guy that he kind of seems like another kind of an XFactor type guy, a guy that maybe can rise to the occasion. We've seen him with some big goals down the stretch here.
Oh, boy, I think that Sam Gagner, I said to him this morning, I said, welcome to the playoffs, Sam, because this is his first time. I mean, he played in Edmonton, played in Arizona. I truly believe this. I mean, he was a number one draft pick. You can see that he has a skill level. Came out of London, up in the Ontario Hockey League, went to Edmonton, probably learned nothing because all their number ones were the same type of player. They lost every year, so it becomes easy to lose. Then he went to Arizona and probably got the same kind of culture. He comes here, and if you noticed how much better he's got, that is Dave Haxtell. Look at the players on this team that we've seen in prior years. Take players that we saw at the beginning of the year, and everybody's improved. Might have been the toughest year for the press to try to figure out who the most improved was. But still, Sam Gagner is now he's playing a solid game. He's playing a gritty game. That was not what he played prior. He was to the outside a lot. So I think it's kind of neat watching all these players develop, evolve, and that's what's fun being around this team.
Well, the Flyers will take on a Capitals team that have been in 25 playoff series in the last 32 years, and they have been knocked out in the first round 23 of those 25 times, and that includes the last time they won the President's Trophy in 2009. They got beat by Montreal. So we'll see if the Flyers can continue that tradition of knocking the Capitals out early. It all starts tonight on 97.3 with Steve Coates and Tim Saunders with the call. Coatesy, we will be listening.
You got it. You guys have a good day. Oh, by the way, you talk about that record for the Caps. It's bright and sunny here today in Washington, except for this one black cloud with Capitals on it. So they're worrying about that a little bit down here.
It's been hanging over their head for 25 years.
This weather report brought to you by Stephen J. Coates Incorporated. All weather reports.
Thank you, Coatesy.
Always wanted to do weather.
I think you're doing all right for yourself.
Okay, thanks.